Hi, my name is Lee. I'm from upstate New York and originally born in Hawaii, actually. And I was like one of 6 Asian people in a school of thousands and thousands of kids. And most of the people were white, sure. And there were like stereotypes, but I gotta say, like, the stereotypes are really basic. Like, oh, do you know karate? Or like, oh, you're Chinese, right? Like, they wouldn't know any like Vietnamese, Japanese, they wouldn't know the difference. So it was easy to, like, you know, ignore those sort of things because it was just like plain ignorance, and you couldn't blame people for that. When I first meet someone, they usually ask, you know, hey, where are you from? And in New York City, that actually has a different like association. Like, sometimes when people ask where you're from, they don't mean like where you grew up, they mean where's your family from? So I'll say upstate New York, and they say, no, where are you really from? Where's your family from? And I say, well, Ireland. And that tends to be a source of confusion for people. People will come to you asking the question where you're from with this idea of, okay, when they answer, I'm going to know everything about them because I've already had experience with these sort of people. So when you answer the question and on a race basis, so like say, you know, say I was to say Vietnamese, which is my biological background, then, you know, the person thinks, okay, I know Vietnamese people, who do I know? You know, I've had some friends who are Vietnamese. I've seen Vietnamese people portrayed in the media. I've seen, you know, Vietnamese food, you know, pho. I've had this dish, whatever. I've had the spicy food. And then they take you and put you in that category. And then they come back to the conversation like, oh, so do you speak the language? You know, have you ever visited your home country? And to me, that question kind of tramples over who I am as an individual person. Like, you don't know anything about me, so why like start trying to put me into a box before I get a chance to show you who I am? And I've had these conversations so many times that it's become kind of like a formula, and I can predict kind of where it'll go, and it usually goes the same way. So I'll tell them, no, I don't speak the language, I only speak English. And I'll tell them that no, I haven't visited Vietnam, and I don't really have a desire to go to a country that doesn't really interest me and isn't like a part of my life currently. And then they'll sometimes respond by saying, well, why haven't you? And, you know, aren't you interested in your heritage? Aren't you interested in your ancestry? And I gotta tell them that it's, you know, it's not mine. I think that these questions and how it goes from being a simple question to like this accusation of how you represent your race, or like how much you should represent your race, these are projections. Like, the people that are asking these questions, they're coming from a place where maybe they themselves have have placed a huge value on their ancestry or their biological history. And so when they encounter someone where that's not as important to them, it's like a person who has a different take on life, like they start trying to teach them how to be. Like they take this approach of like, oh, well, this person must be misguided, like they're missing a piece of themselves that I personally feel that is very important to being me. But these people, you gotta remember that not everybody builds their identity on the same things. Like, everyone has different interests, has different backgrounds, and different aspirations, and those are the things, at least for me, that have built my identity. I've built my identity on lived experiences, like my first-hand experiences. And that's another thing that this question and these accusations tend to bring down. It also makes me aware that, like, I'm constantly being looked at as a foreigner and not as just like the white America that I grew up in. And that's, you know, it's just like kind of a surprising thing, but understandable, but still surprising. And that's another thing, like, I find that anyone who's not white here in New York, like, you're not seen as American. You're seen as something else and then American. So like Asian American, African American. You're not just seen as like being plain old American. You know, I grew up here since I was little. I only know English. Like, my parents are white American, my brothers are white American. Like, everyone, all my friends, like a lot of my friends anyway, are white American. Like, we're just all you know, why can't we just be seen as where we grew up and like how we are instead of what we could have been, or like what our, you know, biological previous, you know, historic race. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why not live in the now and like see people for who they are right now in front of you, sitting like across from you?